Hi everyone, exciting news from Smallstep. I'm going to walk you through a demo today to show you how you can use Smallstep to completely replace a legacy ADCS deployment so that Smallstep can become your certificate authority that issues user certs for a variety of reasons, a variety of use cases. In this case, I'm going to show you how you can use it to deploy Wi-Fi credentials so that you can implement certificate-based WPA2 or WPA3 enterprise without needing to allow user name and password support for your Wi-Fi. So let's go ahead and jump into it. In order to do this, I'm going to show you several components of Microsoft Entra as well as Intune, which will manage your users, your devices, your policy configurations, and the certificate requests. And then on the Smallstep side, we will serve as the certificate authority, and we'll issue user certs that are based off of an intermediate certificate, which will then be delivered to Intune and then provisioned out to the end user devices. For WPA2 and WPA3 Enterprise, you also need a radius server. So we will show you the radius server. This could be the Smallstep radius server, or in this case, I'm actually going to use another radius server, but this is a small component of the solution. If you want to be able to replicate some of what I'm showing you, you can go to the Smallstep website under Docs Tutorials, expand under Tutorial, and there's a tutorial for Intune and Smallstep Setup Guide, and that'll go through a lot of what I'm showing you today in a bit more detail. On the Microsoft side, I'm going to start with Entra. I'm going to make sure that I've provisioned myself properly as a user. So I can see myself here as a user provisioned. So that's good. I'll be able to log in. Then one other thing we need to do in order to connect Smallstep and Microsoft or Intune is we need to create um, an enterprise application. So if I go ahead and search through these, you'll see that I have an app called Smallstep SCEP Connector. So we'll create that connector and there'll be an app ID here, which we're going to need later. And then I'll go to app registrations and we're going to find that same app. And when we go under the Smallstep SCEP Connector app, there's a couple of areas here that you're going to need to work with. One is going to be called the Certificates and Secrets area, and you'll need to exchange a secret between Smallstep and Intune so that Smallstep has the rights to access this API endpoint. And then there will also be API permissions. And so those are covered in a bit more detail in the tutorial that I pointed out momentarily ago. But I've gone ahead and created them already so that we can jump right into getting it up and running. So assuming you have this app provisioned correctly in Entra and the user created, then you should be able to do from there everything that I'm going to show you. First thing I'm going to do is log into Smallstep. And on the Smallstep side, we're going to go to Devices, create a new collection. I'm going to go down to Intune Windows Devices. And here's where you'll need to enter your primary domain from Intune for whatever domain you're managing. In our case, it's smallsteplabs@onmicrosoft.com. You'll need that client ID that I pointed out, and then you'll need the application secret value. So bringing that over from Intune and giving it to Smallstep will give us the authority we need to push the client certificates over to Intune. Okay, now let's hop into Intune. And we already showed that the users are here, but you'll see the same list of users that we had in Entra. Um, and what we need though is I'm going to need to register the device that I'm running on, and I'm also going to need to create some configuration policies. And there's actually already a handful that I've created. If you remember the graphic that I showed you here on Intune, we need the root certificate, the intermediate certificate, the global Wi-Fi configuration, and the access point Wi-Fi configuration. So for the router that I'm going to be setting up, we're going to need to build the AP Wi-Fi configuration for it. I've already uploaded the main root certificate, intermediate certificates, etc. So let's take a look at those. So we've got the root CA, we've got the intermediate CA, and the Wi-Fi SCEP certificate definition. So the root CA is just something that we brought over from Smallstep. So all it's going to show here is that it's, oh, this is the intermediate, the root CA brought over from Smallstep. Here's the file name. It's going to get stored in the computer certificate store when it's deployed off to a managed endpoint. Then we have the intermediate CA. Similarly, it's going to get pushed off to the certificate store on the computer when it's provisioned to my machine. And then we have the Jump Cloud Wi-Fi. And so Jump Cloud is the Radius server I'm using. And then I'm telling it that it's going to use SCEP certificates for authentication. And then for the SCEP certificate specifically, this is for all users, so it's not for me yet. It's that all users, this is going to generate a user style certificate as opposed to a device certificate or other forms of certificate. The common name is going to automatically insert my username. It's going to issue 4-day certificates that are valid for 4 days. And here's some other information about the certificate. And then here is the endpoint on the Smallstep side that Intune will call in order to get a user certificate for any user in this case. So that will allow multiple users to connect to a single endpoint, for instance. So we still need to build the fourth component, which is the configuration profile for my Wi-Fi endpoint. And so when I go to configuration profiles, and let me just show you the router. So the router I have, I'm currently connected to Azus 24G, which is a 2.4 gigahertz network that I'm just leaving open for this demo. And in case I mess something up, I'll still be able to access this router. But what we want to be able to do is connect to this second network, which is called Azus. Oh, and that's nice in the middle of the demo. It logs me out. So Azus is the second network, and it is set up to use WPA2 Enterprise. And then I've entered the information that was provided by the Radius server, which is an IP address, a port, and a connection secret. So this is the router that we need to now build a profile for that will get pushed down to my device and tell my device to automatically join that Wi-Fi router using a certificate for authentication. So to do that, I'm going to build a profile. Excuse me. I'm on a Windows machine. I'm going to choose a Wi-Fi template from the configuration profiles. I'm going to create that. And for this Wi-Fi template, I'm just going to name it Ted's Azus and go ahead and put that in the description. And then for the Wi-Fi type, it's going to be enterprise grade. And I showed you the SSID for this is Azus. So we'll go ahead and enter that. Sure, automatically connect when in range. And there's not that many settings that we need to do, but we do need to show that it's user authentication mode, which coincides with the global Wi-Fi SCEP certificate profile that I'd set up. So to make sure that the certificate matches the policy that I'm pushing down to the device. And then we're also going to need to set a couple of additional things. So we don't need most of these. Down here for EAP type, we want to make sure that it's the extensible authentication protocol is EAP TLS, which is highly secure. We like that. Then I'm going to enter the information for my Radius server, radius.jumpcloud.com. Then I'm also going to need to set the client authentication method to show that this is a SCEP certificate. And then for the certificate profile, I'm going to select that Jump Cloud Wi-Fi SCEP configuration that I showed you a moment ago, which was already created. So now we have EPTLS, we have my SSID entered, show that it's going to be SCEP certificate that authenticates me to join this network. Next, everything looks good. I'm actually going to let anybody in my organization join. So in that case, I'm going to just say that Intune users in my organization. So if anybody from work comes over to my house, their machines will automatically join this Wi-Fi network that I'm provisioning right now. It's a nice thing for if you want to provision people to multiple locations. You can just put them in a group and assign them to those specific locations. So we'll extend it to the group. We don't need this. Review and create. Okay, so that has created a certificate profile. Let's refresh this and make sure it's here. So we've got Ted's Azus ET8, Intune users. Just make sure everything looks clean. Yep. All right. So now we need to jump back to my computer and we need to go ahead and join my work network. And what that's going to do is it's going to register my computer with our Intune instance on at Microsoft. And that is also going to then automatically grab all the profiles that are associated or the configurations that are associated for our account. So under here, we're going to go to Access Work or School. I'm going to connect to my account, Ted at Smallstep Labs. Okay, let's see. Now I need to bring a code. We have, as everybody does, I'm sure, we have multi-factor authentication. So I'll go ahead and enter a code. Now Microsoft's doing its thing where my device is now going to have some policy checks against whatever policy controls there are that have been implemented by Intune. Okay, so my device is all connected with Intune. And then I'm just going to go ahead and look under here and make sure that it's successfully synced. It says it's synced. So let's go ahead and see if it has sent down the certificates yet. First one I'm going to look for is my client certificate. It should be under my username. Oh, there it is, certificate, and it shows a valid certification path. And then if I look at my device certificates or computer certificates, I should also see that the intermediate and the root certificate were pushed down. So let's go ahead and take a look for those. There they are, Smallstep root, Smallstep intermediate. So it looks like I have all the certificates necessary to go ahead and join my Wi-Fi. So let's go ahead and see what happens. We'll switch over to the secure network. And there I am, connected and secured. And another way to verify that this is right, a couple ways. One is to go ahead and open up my network and internet, in this case under Wi-Fi. Under Manage Known Networks, you can see that this Azus that we just created was added by company policy. So this is now a known network that was added when I joined the organization. And if I click on that, it'll tell me some more details about it. It's classified as private, and you can see that it's set up as a security type WPA2 enterprise, and that the type of sign-on is certificate, smart card or certificate EPTLS. Okay, so short follow-up to the Windows configuration through Intune. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at how you bring a Mac into play here as well. So very similar to Windows, although we're going to have to do a separate version for Mac OS. So we'll go to Mac OS here under devices, and then first thing you have to do before you can bring any Apple devices into your account is register for an Apple MDM push certificate. If you click this learn more here, it pops up some information on how to do that, but basically you need to sign up for a business manager account at Apple, and then you'll get this push certificate that gives you kind of the rights to be pushing configuration files down to Apple devices. So I've already done that. I've got my MDM push certificate uploaded here, and let's go ahead and now create the configuration profiles that my Mac is going to need. It's virtually the same process for um, adding the configuration profiles for Windows, but here you're going to change the platform to Mac OS instead of Windows 8 or higher. So here we've got the root CA, the intermediate CA, and the Jump Cloud Wi-Fi CA, and now we need to create the access point policy for my Wi-Fi network. So now we're going to choose Mac OS, and we're going to select the Wi-Fi template. Go ahead and get a new one. This one I'm going to call Ted's Zeus ET8 Mac instead of just ET8, so I can tell the different configuration policies apart. It's going to still be enterprise. It's the Azus. I'm going to enable connecting automatically. We want EAP-TLS. So with EAP-TLS, we're going to have to set up a couple of different things here. So we've got the Radius server, the same one we used before, radius.jumpcloud. And then for the server validation, we need the Jump Cloud Radius Server CA, which I also had uploaded as a Mac version. So kind of everything you do from Windows, you have to do a Mac version as well. So there we've got the Radius server, we've got the authentication for the Radius server, and then for the client cert, we're going to build the client cert based off of the Jump Cloud Wi-Fi SCEP, but the Mac version of it again. So that's all we need. Go ahead and add in the groups that are authorized to join this network, and I'm going to replicate what I did with Windows. Everything looks good. Certificate-based authentication, and go ahead and create that. Okay, so now we've got the ET8 Mac version. There it is in my list. You can see it's all configured okay. All right. So next thing we need to do is enroll the Mac with Intune, because this Mac is just a standalone Mac. It's a MacBook Pro M1. Let's see what it is. We got M1 running Sonoma, so it's kind of latest version as of when this video is recorded. And there's some information under Mac here that says in order to enroll a Mac OS using the company portal app. So you can find that on Microsoft Learn. Install the company portal app. Enroll my Mac. That downloads this company portal installer package, which I've already done. Then you can bring up your applications, run the company portal app. Go ahead and sign in using your Azure AD or Entra ID credentials. And now we're going to set up Smallstep access. And it's basically going to give, on the Mac, it's going to give my organization rights to administer some things like certificates, read serial numbers, OS versions, enforce policies, etc. So very similar to what you can do with Windows. So now it's telling me to install the management profile, and to install it, all we need to do is double click on it to review. You can see it's coming from Microsoft, etc. I'm going to go ahead and install that. And now in order to write into the keychain, it needs you to enter your local password. It's the admin password for the Mac. And let's see, we're still on my my backup network. I'm not on the secure network yet. Keep an eye on that. Okay, so now the profile's installed. It shows about certificates and SCEP enrollment, etc. Everything looks good. Go ahead and close that. We can go ahead and check the keychain. If we look on certificates, we can now see some certificates loading in, and you'll see the Jump Cloud certificate, and then you just saw my client certificate that got pushed down from Intune automatically. I'll go ahead and load that, and we can say that see that the certificate is valid. And once again, this is a username certificate, so you can see my username here. And now I should have everything I need in order to join my WPA Enterprise network. And so let's go ahead and look. Here it is. We're going to connect, and I'm going to choose the certificate with my username and say OK. Once again, it needs admin privilege locally. So it's going to need my local username and password just one time. And here I am now connected to MM Oops, just disconnected. There's MM I'm now connected to this local network. I'll click Details for MM and click 8021X, which is the certificate, and it's showing that I'm authenticated with EAP-TLS, and I've been connected for just over 1 minute. And you can see, some other information about it, but what was really important is just seeing that we've connected with a certificate to WPA2 Enterprise Network.